Okay, I want to walk you through how we do 8D exercise level 2, number 16. So here are the three premises that we're given, okay? And we're supposed to get to the conclusion, Q or S. So here's how I solve this. Step one, I ask myself the question, my big strategy question, do I see the whole conclusion, Q or S, contained somewhere in the premises? Because if I do, I can think about how to directly jailbreak that conclusion out of the premise. Well, in this case, no, you don't see the whole thing, Q or S. What you see are like the different parts of the conclusion in different premises. So you got Q here in premise 2, and you've got S is in premise 1. So my next question I'm going to ask is, well, if I'm trying to get to a disjunction, Q or S, as my conclusion, which of my implication rules will give me a disjunction, an or statement, as the conclusion of that implication rule? And there are two rules that will do that. There's the addition rule, and there's constructive dilemma. So I'm going to have to use one of those two rules as my final step to get me to Q or S. Well, can I use addition? No, because in order to use the addition rule, I'd have to have one of the disjuncts, like Q, all by itself. And I'm not going to be able to get Q all by itself out of these premises. You can try it yourself and see, but there's no rules that will do it for you. None of your implication rules. So that means I'm going to have to use constructive dilemma. All right, so here's what I know at this point. I know that my last step is going to be constructive dilemma. Now the question I need to know is, which premises do I need in order to draw Q or S as a conclusion using constructive dilemma? What are the requirements for using constructive dilemma? And what you're going to need is, well, a conjunction of two conditionals where the consequent of both conditionals is Q and then S. All right. And then you're also going to need a premise that has the antecedents of those two conditionals in a disjunction. Now let me there's two conditional statements kind of in these premises that immediately suggest themselves, right? You got if R then Q. Oh, Q is the consequent of that conditional. And you got if P then S. Oh, check that out. Now S is the consequent. So you can do constructive dilemma if only you can get this premise. That's the one you're going to need. If R then Q and if P then S. You've already got the other premise that you need, because in premise 3, you've got a disjunction of the two antecedents. So if you got premise 3, and then if you can prove this one, you're good. So I'm going to put the justification down here, the part that I figured out. I know I'm going to need premise 3 to use constructive dilemma, and I know I'm going to need this big conjunction premise. Now, my next question is, how am I going to get this big conjunction premise? What rule will give me a conjunction as the conclusion? Oh, yes, that's right. The name of that rule is conjunction. Good. Now, what premises do you need in order to apply the conjunction rule? Well, you need each of the conjuncts as premises. Now, you've got one of the conjuncts in premise 2 already. It's given to you. You got the first one. So I'm going to put that down in the justification. The other conjunct I need is if P or S. I don't have that directly. If P then S is buried in premise 1. So I'm going to have to get it somehow. So I'm not sure what line that's going to be at. So I'm going to do this. The next premise I have to prove is this, if P then S. Okay, well, how am I going to get, get that thing out of the way. How am I going to get if P then S out of line 1? Well, I know I'm going to have to get it out of line 1. What rule is going to give me if P then S as a conclusion? Well, if P then S is the consequent of a conditional. And you know a rule that will give you the consequent of a conditional. That rule is modus ponens. So you've got like if this, then that, and the conclusion will be that. So what's the other premise you need? Well, you need the antecedent in order to apply modus ponens. Do you have the antecedent given to you in the premises? Why, yes, you do. It's line 3 right there, which means you're done. You have connected the dots. So now I'm going to go and put in my line numbers. This is line 4. The next line is line 5. And that means that this question mark refers back to line 4. And this line is line 6, which means the question mark refers to line 5. And now you're done. That's all there is to it.